All right, here we are. We're going to do the in-water test now. So this is going to go through the different positions you can use the water hammocks in, kind of give you an idea of how far you go into the water, if you're sitting inside, if you're sitting on the ring. Heck, we may even try to stand on all three of them and kind of give you guys an idea of how the design, right? So this is what we're testing, is the design of each of the hammock, how it's going to differ once you're using them in the water. So we're going to go through as in-depth as I can, but obviously not too drawn out, to give you guys an idea of how these will work once they're in the water using them. So let's get to it. All right, so we got all three of the hammocks in the pool. You can see how they are floating without any weight in them. And this is where that thickness of the ring will come into play. Kind of see the difference in all three of the thicknesses there, because that will have an impact on sitting on the ring and holding weight out of the water. So hopefully that gives you an idea with no weight in them. Now let's get on to the water test. All right, so let's start with the Acwyenn, and we're just gonna sit on the ring. I'm on the step, it's free floating in the water. And now, so I'm fully sitting on the ring. You can see there, just the top of the ring's almost underwater, but this is still dry up here, and I'm floating on the ring. All right, so now I'm going to sit on the ring facing the inside with my feet on the mesh. Kind of give you an idea of what that looks like and how far under the water I am. And I am still floating. And you can see, since there's no bungee or rope here, there is no bounciness to the mesh itself. So when I bounce on this, the ring will go farther under the water instead of the mesh going farther under the water while the ring stays up. So a big difference in this one and how that differs. So your knees, legs will be further up because there is no give. So let me spin you around. You can kind of get an idea of this way. All right, so we're just gonna slide down into the hammock. And now we're sitting inside, backs up against the ring. You can see how far, my shirt is not really in the water here. So this is how far you'll be out of the water in this model. All right, now we have the liquid hammocks. This is the tallest ring and widest. So this one will provide the most flotation. As you can see, we're sitting on the ring. Let me turn my feet so off the step. And there you go. Now we have no water up here on the top. Let's see if I bounce a little bit. Still no water on the top. Now it's spin around. All right, now that I'm sitting inside with my feet on the mesh, you can see my knees are a lot lower because this mesh has a bungee in it. So when I stand up, this ring will stay pretty much the same distance out of the water, but the mesh will go further in the water. So you can see there, my balance is not so good, but I'm not touching the step. You can see the ring is almost completely out of the water, just like it is on that side, because the mesh, the bungee is extending and the mesh is going further in the water. So that will allow you to have your knees kind of more in a seating position. You can still put them out, but when you're sitting here, you can use the mesh to push yourself up, which again, will put more weight distributed on the ring. Okay, so now let's slide in here. And we have the anti-gravity hoops, heel hoops. You can see we're further in the water. So we're about 3 more inches deeper than the first hammock. And I have my heels in the anti-gravity mesh, so that allows me to sit like this with no sliding whatsoever. If I go all the way down and put my feet out, you can see now I'm even deeper in the water. All right, so now we have the Sunchill here, and again, when it comes to design, this is the thinnest ring, both width and height. So that's gonna impact you on the flotation side. There's a little bit of air in the mesh, but that's okay. So I'll do the same thing. I will sit on the ring, get off the step, and I'm floating, and you can see here, bouncing up and down, the ring will go into the water. But you can see huge difference. You know, the ring's totally submerged. I have, you know, it's up to my hip here under the water. It still floats you, but just a big difference as far as the flotation on the ring. So let's turn around. My feet on the inside. Okay, so now I have my knees on the mesh, trying to sit up straight without going into the water, but there you go. Again, this has the bungee cord, so if I stand up, if I try to stand up, you can see that on this one, there's not enough flotation. You know, there's not enough air around here to keep the mesh, or to keep the ring up out of the water, but this is standing on the mesh. Still, the mesh has bungee, so it is stretching. It's a lot more stretch than over there, but you can see the ring just doesn't have enough flotation to keep itself out of the water. So now let's slide down, sitting on the mesh only. Try not to get so there's no anti-gravity footholds here, so you're going to slide towards the middle. Because there's nothing, unless you hold on to this, there's nothing really, it's gravity. You know, it's not something just this design is experiencing, it's just gravity. If you have a bungee, it's going to push you towards the least resistance because you have the most resistance up here where the bungee's trying to hold you up. So you either have to just hold on here if you want your back against the ring, or you just slide down a little and lean back. These are hammocks, so they're made for relaxing. But you can see just how far underwater I am compared to the other ones. So I'm, again, mid-chest, out of the water here. All right, well, since I got myself mostly wet here, might as well try to stand on these. This one's gonna be the most difficult, and then judging on my balance, maybe I can. I don't know, we'll have to see. I'm gonna use the pool edge here to try to balance me. Nope. Oh, I just can't get the ring to float me here because I'm touching the bottom of the pool. So we're gonna say that is a no. You're not gonna be able to stand on the edge of this one. So let's move on to the next one. Try that. All right, so standing on the Sunchill didn't work. We're gonna go to the next thickest hammock, and that's this one. So let's see if I can stand on this one. Again, balance is my issue here, but I'm sure kids are a lot better. This is looking more hopeful. Look at that, guys. This one will support the weight. The ring, surprisingly, isn't that much underwater. But there you go. This one will support standing on the edge. So 175 pounds, roughly, on the ring, and the rest of it's not that bad. So let's try the liquid hammock. All right, so this is the thickest ring. This one should be the easiest to stand on, provide the most flotation. Again, my balance is the issue here. I'm actually standing in between the cup holders on the thinnest part, but there you go. Ring is not even under the water. I'm standing up. I don't know if you can see my head, but here we are. More stable just because the ring's wider. So again, 175 pounds standing on the ring. Cup holders are still out of the water, ring's completely out of the water, all the way around. All right, let's try something else. All right, now that we got the fun stuff of standing on the hammocks out of the way, let's get back more to the real life. This is gonna simulate a 65 pound, I'll post the video of where I took the measurement. I'm not sure exactly, I think it's 65 pounds. Sitting on the other ring, so I'm just gonna place it on the other side. I'm gonna sit on this side for the first test, and then the second one, I'm gonna actually put the bucket next to me and sit on the ring next to it to kind of simulate somebody if you weighed, 230, 240, to get an idea of how the ring would react with that type of weight. So let's get started. All right, so we got the bucket on one side of this hammock. And you can see there how it's floating in the water. I will sit on this side. All right, and as you can see there, pretty similar results as the last one. Again, when you distribute the weight, it should all go into the water pretty equally. But you can see this ring is a little bit further under the water than that because that's about 100 pounds lighter. So that gives you an idea there of what the ring would look like with basically an adult and a kid sitting on the other side. So now I'm gonna bring the bucket over here and give you guys an idea of what that would look like. Actually, I'm just gonna sit by the bucket. I'm gonna spin this around here. So now let's say you weigh closer to 220, 230, 240. So 175 pound me and 65 pound bucket. So now you can see here the ring's starting to go a little bit under the water. But if you're sitting here, your cup holders are still good. Your drinks have plenty of flotation over there. Let me spin you around, get an idea of what the other side of the hammock with no weight looks like. Kind of see the ring popping out of the water there. We bounce up and down. All right, so that gives you guys an idea. I'm not touching anything on the bottom. The hammock's fully floating with me and the bucket on one side. Let's move to the next hammock. All right, so that gives you guys an idea. Hammock's still plenty out of the water, and the ring is still plenty out of the water. Spin it around. All right, now we're stable. Put my knees or legs down so you can kind of get an idea. Again, just a little bit of water seeping over the ring here. Kind of get an idea of what the ring looks like. Try to speed this up a little faster. Spin this around. Okay, let me get off the step. And there you go. So now me and the bucket are free. We're not touching anything. Kind of see the water. I'm almost up to my legs here as far as how much they're underwater. Let me get back over the step and show you what it looks like this way. See the ring there is popping out of the water just like the other one, and that's because all the weight's on this side, so I'm not touching anything. So there you go. Let's move on to the last hammock. All right, so we just ran into not a big issue. I would call it a little issue, but nonetheless a little leak. So this is on the Acwyenn. This tiny leak, you would probably last all day. Not seeing any issue with, it floating you. There's another one here. I haven't gone over the entire hammock to see if there's any other leaks on this one. There could be, but nonetheless, that would probably be covered from the manufacturer. I won't speak to each manufacturer, but that is a defect, part of the process of putting these together. If it doesn't, if the glue doesn't seal all the way, if the iron doesn't get it hot enough, to heat seal these edges, then you might get a small leak like that. Again, reach out to the manufacturer, see how they will fix that for you. This being on Amazon, I would assume they'd probably just take it back and then you'd have to order a new one. I don't know, but yeah, so this is the Acwyenn. That's what I just found, so I wanted to just point that out. Let's put the bucket there. That looks like it's in the middle. I'm only doing it on the logos because they're usually placed the same distance apart, so that I'm not, putting the weight in different areas. It is 180 degrees away from where the bucket is and where I am. So there you go, me on one side, bucket on the other. Again, sitting on the ring about hip high, top of my hip. Bucket's a little bit under the water. See if you can see that. Now this part of the ring is out of the water. You can see each end is out of the water, and that's just because gravity, right? This is going down, that's going up. Let's slide this around, give an idea what it looks like with me sitting next to the bucket. Again, this is around 240 pounds total on the ring now. I don't want to get my microphone wet, but there you go. See, my feet are out of the my feet are out of the water. It's just me in the bucket. And you can see what the ring does there. Let me slide around. See it from this angle. You balance here. I'm not touching the bottom or the wall. And I'm about, me and the bucket are almost up to my chest. Well, stomach's completely under the water, but you can see what the rest of the ring is doing, so that gives you an idea what that looks like. All right. All right, now that we covered how humans will float in each of these hammocks, let's talk about the drink holders. So the Sunchill has the clip-on one. So this is just a bungee strap that goes around the ring and clips to itself. Very easy to put on and off. You can leave them on if you wanted to. And then it has this neoprene holder here. And it comes with 2 of them. You can buy more if you want. The liquid hammock has built-in cup holders. And the Acwyenn, however we say that, I still don't know. No cup holders on that one. So let's get to what would fit in these cup holders. So the water bottle has lots of play here. So you're gonna need something there. The 12-ounce can, still a bunch of play. The 30-ounce tumbler, perfect, fits. We'll get to that in a minute. So no, you can kind of see there, slides in there and holds it. But if I were to put the put a little bit of bouncy on it, it's going to topple over. And the cup is filled with water. It's not empty. All the way to the top. Stay. Stay. So if you had a little bit of pressure here, let me just see if I can sit on it here without it tipping over. Very carefully. Okay, so it's holding it there. Oh, nope, it's not. So a 30-ounce tumbler is going to come out with any type of movement, it looks like. So let's move on to, came with these neoprene cup holders. So let's cup holder the cup holder. There's still a little bit of extra room in there, so let's try that. Okay, so a lot more sturdy there. If you had a 12-ounce can, it would most likely be open and probably spilling out a little bit, but you can see putting some all kind of wacky stuff. It is holding in there. So again, if it was open, there'd be stuff splashing all over the place. I don't really want to waste a beverage on showing you that, but it is staying in there. So now let's go to the water bottle. Again, way too much. If you didn't put anything on it, it's going to fall over instantly. So let's try this slim can koozie. See if that helps. Yeah. Okay, so yeah, any type of movement, your drink's gonna be spilling all over the place. Let me go over here. All right. And you can see there, it is falling over. So that kind of gives you an idea of how these cup holders work and don't work. And comes with 2 of them. You can buy more, but just keep a close eye on it because they might fall over like you see there. So now let's go on to the liquid hammocks and see how those cup holders work out. All right, so now we're gonna go on to the liquid hammock cup holders. These are built in. There's 4 of them on this model, and they do have a hole in them. So if they do fill with water, see it draining out there. So the only way that they would fill with water is if you put way more than what I weigh here. All right, so it's gonna fill with water now. You can still put a drink in here because it will still stay, right? But I'm gonna fill it with water. I'm gonna show you once you come off of it. all the water is going to drain out. Okay, and that will happen on all 4 of them. So this is the 30-ounce tumbler. Fits in there perfectly fine. You can shake it. The cup is still filled all the way up. You can see there, putting pressure on the ring. Still not moving. Shaking back and forth. Let me sit right next to the cup holder again. You can see there, bounce up and down. You can see water will go in past it, but the extra will come out and it's still in there, right? You're still not spilling your drink. Let me open the lid. Let me fill it up all the way. Open the lid. You can kind of see now. This may look funny, but just trying to show you guys, still not spilling anything. Let me go 90 degrees over here. Now I have another cup holder here, but you can see over there, still nothing. Drink's not going anywhere. Okay. So now let's go to the water bottles. We do not need these extra koozies. You could have a koozie on it. It will still fit. So that it's deep enough so that when the can's in there, I don't know if you guys can see that, but it'll still shake around, but it's not going to spill over and go out of the hammock. So you can see there, I'm sitting here. I don't know if you guys can really, let me scoot over. So even though I'm here, there's no water going over the lip of this can. Okay, so it's in, the water's in there, but it's not going over the lip. It will not spill. Okay, water bottle, same thing. Water is in there, but not going over the lip. And that's just because I'm sitting right here. If I move over here, I'm nowhere near the cup holder. Now there's not going to be any water in that cup holder because it's almost out of the ground, or almost out of the water. And another design, if you can see, look at this cup holder here. You can see the ring come up. So it's actually the cup holder is coming out of the water, and there's a space in between the water. You hear that? That's the space in between the water and the bottom of the cup holder. So if no one's in it, there's not going to be any water in any of these areas down here. This is all dry. So hopefully that gives you an idea on how the cup holders will work on both of these. Again, the cheapest water hammock does not come with cup holders. So that gives you an idea. On to the next. All right, so another use for these water hammocks is actually flipping them over, and now it looks exactly like a hammock. So this is still gonna have give because we still have the bungee cords on here, but let me show you, just in case you wanted to use it like this. Now obviously the cup holders on this model are upside down, you can't use them, but if you're using this like this, you're probably just laying on it to get just a little bit in the water. So let me show you what that looks like. So that was sitting on the outside. Let me just go in the middle here so I'm not sitting on a cup holder. So now we're upside down. You can see difference here, the ring's still out of the water. Let me just sit down in here, okay? So now I'm way out of the water. My hip's not even in the water. And my back is still up against the ring. You can see here, laying down a little bit. My knees and legs are completely out of the water, but this is more of a lounge to get you out of the water without doing anything. Just as they come, the bungee cords are still on here. So this is just another way you can use these water hammocks. If you did want to flip it over and not do anything else, this is kind of, you sit in the middle, I'll show you. All right, let's go on to the Sunchill and show you how that flipped over works. All right, so now we got the Sunchill flipped over. Again, it's going to be the same thing. sitting on the ring, you're still gonna be the same depth in the water. Ooh! But I'm just trying to show you sitting on the mesh on this side, because you know, you got that distance here of how much further the mesh is out of the water. So you're a little bit more out of the water with this one. Not as stark of a difference because of how thick that is. So that's, you know, you got 8 inches tall of mesh out of the water, where this is 5 inches difference. But the ring is smaller, so this is a little bit different. But you can see there, kind of in the same position, but my legs are under the water. All right, hope that gives you an idea of what this one looks like flipped over. Woo! All right, so now we got the Acwyenn flipped over. We're going to sit on it, lay on it, kind of like the same way we did with the other ones. You can't change any rope to bungee or bungee to rope. So this is just gonna give you an idea of, if you flip this model over, how you can sit on it and lay on it. Okay, so I'm on the edge, but this one, there really is no edge between the ring and the mesh, because it's all one piece. Okay, so you can see here, legs fully out of it, tiny little puddle, because all of this is very tight. And then really there's no back support here, because again, this is all one piece. So if you lay down, you're just, you know, you could lay down flat on this one, because again, this is all one piece. There's no, the mesh doesn't cover you, you know, contour you like a hammock. This is all just one sewn piece. And then if I sit in the middle, you can kind of see there, definitely a lot higher up out of the water, because there's no give in the mesh. So I hope that helps. All right, that will do it for this water hammock review. Hopefully these 3 8-foot water hammocks gives you an idea of, you know, bungee cord versus rope, versus sewn in. If there's any other hammocks you're interested in, hopefully these dimensions, stuff like that, will give you an idea of how they will support the weight. And if you have any questions and comments, write them down below. We'll be sure to answer them for you. And if any of this information was helpful in you deciding which one works best for you, please give this video a like. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you on the next one.